Hi, I'm Kathy West from Emmanuel Community United Methodist Church, and I'd like to welcome you again to Once Upon a Story Time. Today's story is called Detour on the Journey by Janet Ray. We join Evie and Grandpa. They're doing FaceTime again. And Grandpa begins. He's looking concerned. What's wrong, Evie? Grandpa notices her splotchy face and red eyes and asks, have you been crying? Evie nodded. I'm so mad at Mom right now. She sniffed and wiped her eye. She took away my LOL dolls, Grandpa, and I can't have them back until tomorrow. Gosh, that is upsetting, Evie, said Grandpa. He knew Evie loved playing with the little dolls, their pets, and all the glittery clothes. Why do you think your mom did that? Because she's not fair, shouted Evie. Really? Is that the only reason? Grandpa suspected there might be more to the story than that. Well, I was playing with them, and Mom said it was time to come for lunch and to put them away. But Grandpa, I wasn't done. So I put a blanket over them, and I went to lunch, and I told Mom I had cleaned up. Then after lunch, she came into the bedroom, she pulled away the blanket, and she saw the dolls. And she was mad. Do you think she was mad because you didn't pick up the dolls like you were supposed to? Or do you think she was mad because you lied about it? I don't know, Evie admitted. You think about that for a while while I tell you a story, okay? Once upon a Bible time, there was a man who loved God, a prophet named Jonah. God depended on Jonah to help people know how to love God and serve him best, because Jonah was a good communicator and he loved God very much. He was a good help to God. So one day, God told Jonah there was a message for the people of Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was the largest city around, and God loved all the people there. But they were not loving God back. They weren't following his commandments. God wanted Jonah to tell the people of Nineveh to change and love God, obey God, trust God. Jonah didn't want to do it. But instead of talking to God about it, he decided to run away. He went to the harbor of Joppa, found a ship going to Tarshish, completely the opposite direction. In fact, Tarshish was just about the farthest place anyone could go, Grandpa said. Grandpa thought a minute. Evie, can you hang on? I've got a map from a big book of mine. I'm just going to go and get it quick. Theo's around here somewhere, my cat. He'll keep you company. I'm sure he's going to come to the screen when I leave. So just give me a second. I'll be right back. Grandpa went and got the map that he was talking about. And he brought it back and he showed Evie. Okay, Evie, look, he said. Here is Joppa, right there. God said, I want you to go to Nineveh. It's just up there. It's about 550 miles. So Jonah got on the ship in Joppa and went where? This way, right to Tarshish, 2,500 miles away. Tarshish, Nineveh. That's the difference. Far away. Grandpa, did Jonah really think he could fool God? Didn't he know that God sees everything? Asked Evie. Well, I'm not sure Jonah was thinking very clearly, Evie. He just wanted to get his own way, and this seemed like the easiest way to do it. Maybe it was a little like throwing on a blanket and hoping his mother wouldn't notice. Oh, Evie said, thinking of the baby Yoda blanket she had thrown over her dollies. So Jonah got on the ship. He chatted with some of the crew as they prepared the ship for the voyage. Do you have trading business in Tarshish? One of the sailors asked. Actually, said Jonah, My trip is personal. My God has given me a job to do, but I'm not going to do it because I just don't think it's right. I'm running from God right now, actually. The sailor was a little impressed that Jonah would disobey a God. Finally, the ship started across the Mediterranean Sea. They weren't too far when God created a huge storm. The rain pounded the deck, the winds tore the sails, and the huge waves knocked the ship back and forth. The crew hoped to lighten the ship and make it easier to handle, so they started by throwing over barrels of oil that they were going to trade. They threw away dining room tables and even some of the crates that held the food. But it wasn't working. They knew that something else had to be tossed overboard. So they went around the ship to see what they could find. And there, at the bottom of the boat, they found Jonah, asleep. "Wake up, sir! The ship is going to sink. Get up right now." The sailors were surprised that anyone could be sleeping while the ship was rocking and creaking so. When Jonah reached the top deck, he found chaos. Men were hanging on for dear life and yelling prayers to their gods. "Pray with us, sir. Maybe your gods will hear and help us," encouraged the captain. "I am a Jew," screamed Jonah. "I worship the one true God who made the sea, the earth, and the land." "I know you," yelled one sailor. "You're the guy trying to escape the job God asked you to do." "Yes," admitted Jonah, "I am." Grandpa, sorry, Evie interrupted. "Do you think it was hard for Jonah to tell the sailors he was running from the job God gave him?" "What do you think, Evie?" "I think it was hard. He probably felt bad that he had been disobedient. Maybe he was embarrassed, scared, sorry for his behavior." Grandpa's kind face filled the screen. "Maybe," said Evie. "Did Jonah say he was sorry to God? Did he apologize?" "Well, just a second," Grandpa continued. Let's wait and see. Not finished with the story yet. The captain asked Jonah to pray to his God that the storm would stop. Jonah shook his head. "I'm pretty sure that God sent this storm to stop me. I'm going the wrong way right now. I thought I could disobey and hide from God, but that was a bad idea." "What should we do then?" The captain was really worried. "I'm afraid the whole ship is going to sink. We'll all drown." "I can think of only one thing to do," Jonah said. "Throw me overboard." "Are you kidding? You'll surely drown in these waves." "I think God will stop the storm once I'm off this ship." Jonah's voice was loud and firm over the sound of the wind. "Throw me over, and I'll trust God whatever happens next." The sailors and the captain didn't really want to do this, but nothing else was working. So finally, they threw Jonah into the crashing waves. "What happened then?" Evie asked, her eyes wide. "The storm stopped, just like that." Grandpa snapped his fingers. The sailors and captain were amazed. Who is this true God of the Jews, they wondered. Some began to worship God right then. Others decided they would find out more about this God when they got back to Joppa. But Evie said, "What about Jonah?" Well, God sent a big fish that caught Jonah in his mouth. Instead of drowning, Jonah was saved. But he spent 3 days in the belly of that fish, which couldn't have been very pleasant. "Oh, yuck," said Evie. She had been fishing with her grandpa on Lake Michigan and had smelled fish up close. Jonah prayed while he was in the fish, Grandpa said. He thanked God that he didn't die, and he apologized. He said he was sorry for being disobedient. After 3 days, the fish spit Jonah out on dry land. Jonah had learned his lesson. He obeyed God, he loved God, he trusted God, and brought God's message to the people of Nineveh right away. "Do you remember what the message was, Evie?" Grandpa asked. To love God, to trust God, to obey God, right? That's right, Evie. Did they change and become obedient like Jonah did? Evie asked. Well, that, my dear, is a story for another time. I've got to catch Theo and take him to the vet. It's time for his vaccinations. And maybe there's something you need to do now? Maybe I need to apologize to Mom, to say I'm sorry. I could have picked up my dolls. That's what I should have done. Or I could have asked permission to leave them out for later. Your mom will appreciate that. Love you so much, honey. Bye-bye. Grandpa clicked off, and so did Evie. That's the end. But for us, it's a part of the beginning. God wants us to know He loves us, and He wants us to love Him, to trust Him, and to obey Him. That's all He asks. He loves us so much. Bye-bye.